Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back to Total Football Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Keith. I'm the host of this little channel, and we're going to look at the latest match. Unbelievable amounts flowing out of the club. It's just like the Niagara Falls. It just never ends. Okay, well, we'll look at all the top stories, and we'll look at what Rubin Amorim has been talking about. As the caption says, is Ahmad going to be the saviour of our season? So there's talk about when Ahmad may potentially return, and can we survive until that point? We will also look at what Rubin Amorim has said about other things like the protests and how difficult it is to win the Europa League in comparison to the Champions League. What's the difference there? And we'll look at Rubin's take on that. We'll also look at, there's some information coming about our Mateta from Crystal Palace. Now, it would be great if this was true, because he's a very, very good player. He's been superb for Crystal Palace. In the formation that they play is quite similar to ours, and we know that he can do a great job, and he has obviously done a really good job for them. He would be a very interesting profile player for us to be looking at, but can we do it? Can we? I don't know. I tell you why, because it's where the source is coming from. I got to take it with a massive pinch of salt, because they very rarely get stuff right. So yeah, but we'll have a look at where that news is coming from. We'll also look at what Casemiro's been saying in recent comments about Manchester United and his potential future. And there is a little bit about Manchester United and their social media manager departing ways. And yeah, we'll have a quick look at that. But look, we'll start with the top story, and that is, Rubin Amorim says that Arteta went about the rebuild at Arsenal. The way he did it was inspirational, but he feels he won't get the same time at Manchester United. And then it also goes on to talk about how injury the hit squad needs to survive on Sunday, and says Ahmad could return very, very soon towards the end of the season. So, I mean, where do we all sit on that? I think if Ahmad was to return, can we survive? I suppose that is the question this morning. Do you think we can survive in the Europa League until we get Ahmad back, if he is going to return before the season's out? Because we need some firepower, and obviously Ahmad was our shining light this season, and unfortunately he's been kind of snatched away from us from a training ground injury, which is just so frustrating. It's like the whole season just has conspired against us in many ways. I know, yes, we haven't played well, and but we've had a lot of injuries as well. Ugarte potentially still out for the weekend, Maguire still out. There's still a lot of issues that Manchester United are kind of dealing with at the minute. So Ahmad with a potential return date is fascinating, because if we could hold on, I mean, can we hold on the Europa League to that particular point and get to the latter stages, and maybe get Ahmad back in the squad before the season's done, and help us just spur us across that line? Because I don't care how we win the Europa League, I don't care if we play the worst football known to mankind. I just think it's so important for Champions League, for money, to help the financial situation at Manchester United. It would be just massive for us to somehow win this trophy. I mean, it seems like the impossible mission right now. Rubin's got one hell of a task to try and drag this team through the mire, through all these potential, snake pits, and, right through to the finals. So let's see what he can do. Let's see if it's possible. And then, yeah, with Ahmad returning, and apparently there's also news on Mason Mount potentially coming back. I mean, how long he'll last, yeah, that'll be fascinating. Will he break down after another 20 minutes, or will he actually manage to see out the rest of the season? Because, my God, we need him to just be available as a potential option more than anything. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that he got the number 7 jersey. Something that always bugged me, because the jersey has diminished over time, and someone like Mason Mount wearing it for his 2 years here and playing about 12 or 13 games it's absolutely crippling to that jersey. We need someone to wear that jersey who can kind of carry it with stature, like previous players, George Best, Ronaldo, Robson, etc. Cantona. We need someone to grab that jersey again and just make it good again, because it's been almost it's kind of symbolized how we've struggled to fill that jersey, and how this team has struggled. Even since Ronaldo's left in some ways. But okay, look, we'll move on. I digress. So Rubin on the rest of Europe. So he says, I think it's just Ahmad and Lisandro Martinez, who won't be back this season. But even with Ahmad, we will see in the months. I don't want to say anything, but I have hope Ahmad could be back before the end of the season. Lisandro is out. Kobe Mooney could return before the end of the season. Harry Maguire, we have to be careful. Manuel Gatti will return. I think Luke Shaw and Mason Mount can also return. Let's talk about Sunday, and we'll see about others definitely going to return, especially Mount. So there, I was saying about Mason Mount being potentially someone who could return. As I said, he would be an unbelievable addition to the squad right now, just because he has experience. He has another body there. He has European experience as well, having won the Champions League, so that would really benefit us in the Europa League, I believe. And also, if we could just, as I said, keep fighting our way through the Europa League stages, get past Sociedad, give ourselves some breathing space, hopefully get players back just to help us move forward. That would be great. But this is what else Rubin had said. So in terms of the Europa League, Rubin had said that it's much harder to win, in my opinion, than the Champions League. Not that the games are harder, but the recovery to play Premier League on a weekend. So we have to deal with that. So that's Rubin's take on the reason why he believes the Champions League is more, or that the Europa League is more difficult to win than the Champions League. Now, I've listened to players, ex-players talk about there is a psychological difference, according to them, not according to me, but according to them. If you play on a Thursday and a Sunday as opposed to Wednesday or a Tuesday and a Saturday, and it's partly to do with family life and partly to do with, your weekend is kind of disrupted by some of those kickoff times on the Sunday. And if you have an earlier one on a Saturday, I mean, it is all, I find all a little bit weird, but certain ex-players have talked about this in the past. I think Danny Murphy did a piece on it on TalkSport, which was quite interesting. Don't always agree with Danny Murphy, but obviously from a player's point of view, it is interesting how he talked about the kind of the mental side and the family side. So maybe Rubin is kind of relating to that a little bit. Players don't like to have to play Thursday, Sunday, and I think it's a mental as much as it is a physical side of things, because Wednesday, Saturday, it's the same thing. But yeah, as I said, interesting point of view. And Rubin is obviously just alluding to the fact that makes the Europa League more difficult. So that, let me know, do you agree with Rubin? Do you think that is an issue, or do you think the players should get on with it? They earn enough money. They get pampered enough. Do you think they should be able to just cope with the Thursday, Sunday? Yeah, please let me know your thoughts. So this is what Rubin said about the game against Arsenal, and he said, I will not have time. I will not have the time that, okay, sorry, he's talking about what Arteta had. He won't have the time to rebuild the club, essentially. He's got to do it in a much quicker period of time. Arteta got 3 years. Obviously, Arteta's still 5 years in and with only one trophy. Yes, he has pushed Manchester City right to the limits, and he has done very well, and he has done a rebuild, and he's completely revamped the squad, and he's brought in the players that he wants. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to get them across the line. So he has done a very, very good job, but I can understand the other side where Arsenal supporters are saying, maybe time for him to move on and someone to grasp the metal and move it on. A bit like Liverpool have done in some ways, where Klopp was maybe running out a little bit of energy, and Arne Slot's come in and done an amazing job, which really pains me to say, and has kind of moved them on levels. It's almost, you're at that feeling that Arsenal, they probably should do it this season, but they might give him a next season. But anyway, that's kind of Rubin is alluding to the fact that it's more difficult at Manchester United because he won't have the time. I don't think he has the money. I think it's almost the impossible task for him to carry this through to the end. Yeah, so that's what Rubin was talking about with Arsenal and United. And then there was the little bit on Mateta, and this is coming from the Sun. Manchester United are monitoring Jean-Philippe Mateta, and could move for him in the summer. His mobility and his work rate with make him a major target, with scouts seeing him as a strong fit for the 3-4-3 formation. Mateta is open to join Manchester United. Now, my thoughts on this are, yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think he'd be a good signing, a good profile, but get your thoughts in. What do you think? How do you feel about it? Do you think he's worth the shot? Do you not? Do you think he's, can he go from Crystal Palace to Manchester United, being our league striker? Would you prefer him over Osimhen or Gyökeres? Is that the reason why we're looking at him? Because he's slightly cheaper? Get your thoughts in below. Okay, we're coming towards the end now, and This is what Casemiro had to say. Casemiro on United. Of course, I want to play, but I always say, and these are my values, that I respect the coach and I respect the club. Every day I want to go to Carrington at Old Trafford. I try to do my best. If if the player is on the bench and happy, the player is not worth anything for any team. Of course, I want to play. I want to have more minutes, but the coach is the one who makes the decisions, and I still have to respect him and the club for that. It's too soon to talk about next season, but of course, another year of my contract and then an option of another. We have important games on Sunday, and we have Arsenal. I'm feeling, I'm here, I'm available with total happiness, and I'm ready for the coach and for the club. As everyone knows, it takes a big character to play for this club. So obviously Casemiro speaking with total professionalism, but I get from that impression that he obviously wants to play more minutes, but he understands that due to the circumstances he may not be getting what he needs. Is he going to move clubs? I think his legs are gone. It showed in the Real Sociedad. Maybe that's the reason why in some ways in many La Liga games he did unbelievably well. It is a slower pace. They aren't as physical, and I think in the Premier League it's just twice as quick. And we showed in our ways that Casemiro could cope with the Real Sociedad game, and hopefully he can do the same again come this Thursday, because we're going to need him again. But yeah, so that's what Casemiro is. Do you think Casemiro's going to stay? Would you like him to see him stay? Interesting one. I think for me, because of the size of the wages, and because, yeah, maybe he can do a job in Europe, but he can't quite do the job in the Premier League, and the Premier League is our bread and butter. I think it would be beneficial if we could find a way to move him on, but we'll just have to see what happens in the summer. Okay, guys, thanks very much for joining me. I'm Keith. If you hit me a like and subscribe on the way out, that'd be absolutely amazing. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow.